I'm excited now to talk about the future of work and the social impact of NFTs. So could I invite Nova and Genevieve to the stage, please, to talk a little bit about that? Thank you so much, guys.
Good morning, everyone. Nemo couldn't make it. Unfortunately, we live in a world of COVID nowadays, and it was very interesting hearing about what the previous speaker was speaking about in terms of identity management and being able to have people do remotely. So it segues very well into what we wanted to talk about. So you get to have me, Genevieve.
And Nova Lorraine.
So to give you a little bit of my background is I come in with about 30 years in banking, in corporate treasury, in corporate finance, implemented large-scale system for those banks, and then went on to do a blockchain solution for smallholder farmers. And I've been doing this for the last couple of years, last 5 years. And one of the biggest challenge has really been work. You know, when you're trying to change the world, having people to be able to work with you on that. And I would love to hear a bit more from Nova about this. For me, it's been at times challenging, and there are many ways I'm trying to address it, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, Nova?
Yeah, hi everyone. Happy Friday. It's a little early. So yeah, I have been in the crypto blockchain space since 2017 actively. Initially started as an investor, then day trader, and then as I learned more about the space, I realized that we were in a paradigm shift and that the protocols that I was studying were actually the building blocks of the future and what we call now the future of the internet, Web3. And prior to that, I received my master's in clinical psychology, and I bring that into everything that I do. And I'm also a fashion designer and the founder of Rain magazine, which focuses on the future of fashion, culture, and technology, which hence led me to Bitcoin in 2013 and then me starting to invest in 2017. So being in a variety or crossing a variety of industries as an advisor, as a founder, leading projects in Web3, in the metaverse, such as Lore, and my own personal projects, and having children, because that's a big part of it too, looking out in the future and seeing what is coming. And if you're in this space, the future is here, right? The future is now. And if you're a builder, we all know that we're in this research and development phase as well. And so I'm also excited to really talk about how all of what we're doing now, especially NFTs, are going to impact us socially.
I want you to go a bit more in terms of the challenges that you're seeing in terms of access to not only talent, but also, you know, we were kind of like chatting a little bit about, you know, this whole idea of pseudonymity. And, you know, I have to say I was kind of like going, okay, so how are we going to get LinkedIn and everybody else on the wave? And that, to me, is very much, you know, we talk about work, but we have education to do. We have to get people at the table. And unfortunately, I think that if we want a real distributed world, it's not going to be the greater north. And how do we get that? And how do we get the talent? Because my point of view is if there's a problem, you don't want to be calling somebody somewhere else, because it still doesn't work. You know, the cultural aspect of that.
Yeah, so I'll start with the question around the challenges. And so having started initially with just that personal interest of crypto and this really cool concept of access, when we talked about access, finding crypto trading much more access than traditional stock trading. And then as I became more educated, I became more intrigued and decided to educate others through podcasts, through public speaking, and other events. And then decided that I needed to become a builder to truly understand what you were just asking about with the challenges. And as a builder, I realized, you know, launching a project, launching an NFT project, there was a huge communication barrier. So even within Web3, unless you are actively using your wallet and minting you have trouble accessing a project that's on OpenSea or Rarible or one of the other marketplaces because it's not second nature to you. And then when you're looking at individuals that are in Web 2, it's completely foreign. And I remember getting calls from individuals that were complaining like, oh, it took me 2 hours to do this and that. I had to download the wallet. Then they're asking me, and we know that there's KYC in the US, and they're asking me for my passport information. Why do I need to get my passport information to buy an NFT? And then it was like, whoa, you're hearing all this information in the news, you're in the space yourself, so you feel as if these things that would seem common would be easy for others to do. So then I realized it's not just a semantics issue, there's also a technical barrier as well. And I felt that until the user interface is improved, and until there was more education and awareness, that we're going to continue to see challenges.
Yeah, and this is why actually we have gotten together on something I'm very excited about. I'm calling it superpowers and kryptonites. It's the idea of really getting to education, equity, because this is very important in, the whole ethos to me of Web3 is about equity. So how do we bring equity even in the work? And then really environmental. We hear a lot about environmental. I think that there are choices that need to be made. I'm not a stickler for it because I'm going, you know what, when the steam engine started, it was burning a lot. We're at the beginning, so we're going to get better at that. But this is about really, for me, bringing in the underserved and underrepresented communities into it. And, we'd like to sometimes think, oh, okay, I'm going to go to Haiti, where I'm from, I'm going to go to Africa, and I'm going to teach them. But I'd like to say, we go 10 blocks from here, and there are people who've never heard of this. How do we bring that? Because if we don't bring them in, we're not going to get that 16 million, you talk about 16 trillion opportunity in metaverse with, I believe, NFT are going to be the currency. And if you don't get those people at the table, you're going to be spending a lot of money before you get any product out.
I love that you brought up underserved communities and how we're going to get them to a table. And so speaking of access, I mentioned the trading. However, I'm also a fashion designer, as I mentioned, and a writer. And the project that I launched was a story, bringing a story through a main character to life with NFTs. Also, the idea of tokenizing couture, because I'm a couture fashion designer, was fascinating. When you think of owning a painting or an antique car or a mansion and being able to fractionalize that ownership and own something like a Picasso across 100 other people, then that brings access to you to fine art. Similar, you could do that with fashion. So I feel creativity is a gateway to bringing individuals to the table. And going back to the point of knowledge, if you understand the language of Web3 and you understand how to use the tools, and as the tools become more user-friendly, you're going to see a wave of not just individuals of color, but also women, individuals across economic categories as well, coming to the table.
Yeah, and you know what, you just said something who picked my head up. By the way, everybody, I'm still in the New York Times, so I should be sleeping right now. Creatives. We like to think, and I think this is, for me, everything in civilization can be shown to have started through art. And through that art is really also how we see change. So I think that the best thing about Web3 was when the artists really took it, and they didn't, go at the same way as us, and they decided, oh wow, we can do something bigger with this. But you know what? I think that we're now moving really into the new era, which is we are all creators, because this is about empowering every one of us as individuals to be able to put our marks in there. And so I like to, even though I don't do art, I am creating something new. My developer is creating something new. We're all creating together. And as such, we really need to think about, this is the future of work. This is the future of creators who are then rewarded. And this is where the NFT comes in, that whole idea of the royalty. Your work makes a lot of money, then you get part of that that royalty coming into you. It could be 2 years from now, it could be 3 years. And guess what? This is where the finance person in me gets really excited. Well, I can hedge that. I can get money today, and somebody else is going to take it later. because I know that money is guaranteed to me, so I'll take 50 of it and I'll let 50 go, but today that 50 is worth it. And I think that's some of the things I'm most excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, when we're saying creators and we're looking at the future of work and we're seeing this whole landscape, and we know that the tools within Web3 include blockchain, which what our smart contracts are built on, but then we have AI, we have AR, we have immersive environments, 3D environments, such as the metaverse. And so when you look at these various categories, decentralized finance, and you think of who is needed in each of these things to bring it to life. You need the programmers and developers, you need the creators, the designers, the illustrators, the animators. You then need the marketers to tell the stories, those storytellers. You need the distributors that are going to take those stories out. And then, of course, you have the consumers. But then
you forgot legal.
Oh, legal, you have IP. So you have all these layers that are being added to each of those categories that you mentioned. You know, we were at an event last night, and a good friend of mine comes from the finance space. And so she's just now entering into Web3 and looking at the staking models around decentralized finance. And so when we look at, you know, what is the future of work, we're going to have these new roles created by default because we have new technology and a new paradigm. There was no such thing as an NFT artist or NFT community, you know, not too long ago. And then creating books and putting on the blockchain, you know, what's that? And then you're looking at what Amazon did so many years ago when they said, oh, we're going to sell books online. And people were like, what? Books online? And then look at how e-commerce has grown and all the things that have spawned from just that inspirational idea of selling books online. So similarly, we're going to have, you know, the Beeple painting that sold for $69 million that inspired all these other artists to come into the space. And then from there, okay, how do we look beyond art? What are the other use cases? And when we look at NFTs, those are going NFTs as proof of ownership, proof of access, proof of work. You know, when we look at a digital contract that can activate different tasks based on what was programmed in it, a storage unit, when we look at the basics of what an NFT is, you know, strip away the name and the acronym, but look at the basics of what an NFT is, then you're going to be able to say, whoa, okay, this non-fungible token is going to affect real estate, education, healthcare. You know, the gentleman was talking about identity community, fundraising, philanthropy, allowing artists to be self-sustaining. I mean, it just goes on and on.
No, the list is going to go on. And I think this is a really new thing. And for me, it's really awareness. How are we going to build the workforce of the future is going to be really where we need to be looking at this. And the social impact of not including is really where the biggest problem is. So we've gone to Web3. We used to talk about IR4, the Industrial Revolution 4, which was scary because 100 years after 3 was when people actually came out of poverty. Let's make sure we don't have the same thing to where we don't have the workforce which is ready to provide us with the tools that we need.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think what's exciting is because we were locked down for a long time, a couple years, it really ignited a lot of creativity and imagination and innovation during that time period. And when we look at the UK adding 1 million creators to their economy by 2030, when we look at existing currently 30 million creators contributing to 3% of the global economy and where that's going, and it's only growing, and taking that creativity and merging it with technology, you know, AI art, for example, is something where now you can use artificial intelligence to create fine art, you know, and now how far that goes. We're going to need individuals that are on ethical committees that are creating these solutions, so we also protect ourselves as well. And so yes, you have the art, you have the technologists, you have the developers, you have the IP, you have the legal, but then you have ethics and sustainability. And where does that fit into all of this? And that's also going to be something that's going to grow in the future as well.
So for 9:30, 9:40, giving you a lot to think of, and have a great weekend, everybody. I'm sleeping.
Thank you.